Hi there. What beauty service would you like today?
This is my first time ever at a spa. In my whole 16 years of life. Looking like a total mess. I want to get waxed, but just got bullied and called a half-evolved monkey. Like this. Can it all be waxed off?
Of course. I'll help you get smooth, silky skin.
I lay on the bed, wrapped in nothing but a thin towel. All my imperfections were exposed in front of a stranger, making me more nervous than ever.
Is this your first time getting waxed?
Yes it is.
Don't be nervous, it doesn't hurt at all.
While waiting for the wax to melt, the staff applied baby powder to my arms and legs. She then started spreading the first layer of wax on my arm. It was just warm, not as hot as I had imagined. Within minutes, both my arms were covered in wax. I suddenly noticed something floating in the wax. It looked lumpy, and there was even a hair in it.
Oh, it's probably just one of my hairs. Sorry about that.
I clenched my teeth, anxiously watching as she peeled at the edge of the wax strip, and then yanked it off in one swift motion. I looked down at my arm. A large patch of hair was gone, leaving my skin red, but there was still a thin layer of fine hair.
Don't worry, since it's your first time waxing, your pores haven't fully opened yet. I'll do one more round to get rid of all the fine hairs. It won't hurt this time.
Another layer of wax was spread over my already swollen arm. I could only trust her and stay still on the massage bed. For the next hour, I just gritted my teeth, held back my tears, and listened to the sharp rip-rip sounds as she pulled off each wax strip. Finally, after all the pain, I had the smooth, silky skin I had wished for. I paid for the service and headed home. The sweet spa staff even gifted me a bag of wax so I could do it myself at home. Once I got home, I followed her advice. I avoided water, applied a layer of snake fat balm to soothe my skin, and went to bed. The next morning, a new school week began. I finally had the confidence to wear the strappy top I had bought long ago, but had left forgotten in the corner of my closet. I walked into school with a completely new look. Everyone looked at me differently, and the bullies must have been shocked. I reassured myself that my skin was just irritated, because I hadn't used sunscreen. I applied another layer of snake fat balm and went back to sleep. That night, I couldn't sleep peacefully. My whole body felt unbearably hot, and a tingling itch crawled over my arms and legs, forcing me awake. Those disgusting hairs. They were trying to grow back. I had to get rid of them. I grabbed a pair of tweezers and started plucking them out one by one. The hair was unnaturally long, curling into a tangled clump as I pulled it out, leaving my pores oozing with blood. I gasped in horror. Then suddenly, I remembered the bag of wax strips the spa employee had given me. I melted the wax, and what I saw inside the pot made my stomach churn. Floating in the wax were chunks of dead skin and strands of hair in all sorts of colors, clearly from different people. A chill ran down my spine, and goosebumps covered my arms. The spa. They actually reused old wax for customers. Did that mean the wax I used yesterday was this disgusting recycled mess? Could it carry diseases? And then, as if responding to my horror, the hairs on my body started to wriggle. One by one, they pushed themselves out of my pores. No, I couldn't go back to being a hairy, disgusting monkey. I scratched at my arms and legs frantically, but strangely, I felt no pain. It was as if my skin had lost all sensation. My body burned with fever, and exhaustion took over. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, my arms and legs wrapped in bandages. I looked like a mummy.
No way. How could she have leprosy?
I turned my head and saw the doctor holding something. It looked like a dried wax strip.
This old wax contained bacteria from a leprosy patient. She's been infected.
No, that's impossible. That spa is big, it's reputable. My limbs feel numb because you gave me anesthesia, right?
Kate, don't be scared. Leprosy is treatable now. You just need to be patient.
Restrain her. We will come up with the best treatment plan for you. Please cooperate.
No, I'm not sick. Get the hell away from me. I never told anyone how much I hated my skin. Not its color or texture, but the thick, dark hair that made it feel like something I could never escape. Ever since middle school, I've been the werewolf, furball. Kids can be cruel, but what they said clung to me long after their voices stopped echoing down the hallway. Even at 18, standing in front of the mirror with a body I'd worked hard for, all I saw were dark, coarse patches of hair clinging to me like shame. I never wore tank tops or skirts in public, never anything that might expose what I fought to keep hidden. And whenever I walked past Jace, the boy I secretly liked, I held myself tight, afraid my skin would give me away. I tried everything. Razors that left me bleeding, waxing kits that burned and stung and still didn't help. Each time, the hair came back thicker, darker, more stubborn. It was like my body was fighting against me just for wanting to feel normal. Then one night, scrolling through my phone in that dazed late-night haze, I saw it. It was a handheld laser hair removal device, advertised as giving salon results at home with flawless, touchable skin. It was portable, easy to carry anywhere, and nearly 70% off. I didn't hesitate. I couldn't stand the thought of a spa, of people whispering, of white lights highlighting every flaw, of towels that didn't feel like they were mine. Home was safer. When the package arrived, I locked my door, sat on my bed, and pointed it at my calf. The first pulse of light stung like fire, sharp and hot and too real. But I kept going. 3 days later, the hair was gone. My skin was smooth. Smooth like the ads promised. Like I never thought possible. I wore a skirt out for the first time. A real skirt. Short and light and unapologetic. I even posted a photo. The comments flooded in. "You look amazing. Where have you been hiding that figure?" Even Jace commented. Just 3 words, but they sent my heart into orbit. "You look incredible." For the first time I felt seen, not as the hairy girl, the one who always hid behind sweaters in July, but as someone worth looking at. But the high didn't last. 2 weeks later, I noticed it. Not just regrowth, but expansion. Hair crept into places it had never been before. Along my lower back, up my arms, down to my ankles. It was darker, thicker, like my body was retaliating. In a panic, I turned the device up to a higher setting, hoping it would work faster. The pain got worse. My skin flared red, sometimes itchy, sometimes raw, but I kept going. I whispered to myself in the mirror, "You have to hurt to be beautiful." And I believed it. I wore a crop top the next day. People stared, but this time they smiled. They admired. That afternoon, Jace found me behind the gym, near the old garden wall. He was nervous, but he asked if I'd go to prom with him. I said yes. Of course I said yes. That night as I slept, the nightmare began. I was standing in front of my mirror, device in hand. I pressed it against my arm and my skin began to bubble, sag, split at the follicles. Hair didn't just fall, it peeled away with the skin. I woke up in a sweat, heart racing. My arms were fine and smooth. I exhaled in relief. The night before prom, I stood in front of the mirror again. Just one more pass, I told myself. One last treatment to make sure every inch looked perfect. I turned the heat all the way up. It hurt more than usual, sharp like needles beneath the skin. But I didn't stop. The pain was proof it was working. Stepping into the ballroom, I felt like a princess. My silk dress hugged every curve, and my skin looked flawless. People turned and whispered, but their eyes held admiration. Some even glimmered with envy. Then I saw Jace. His eyes locked on mine like nothing else existed. He came straight to me, held out his hand and said,
Kara, you look beautiful tonight. No matter what you look like, I like you.
That should have been the perfect moment. But then I saw it. A single hair. Thin, dark, curling from the edge of my pinky like a taunt. I froze, smiled awkwardly, then whispered, I'll be right back. Jace looked confused, maybe a little worried, but he let me go. I couldn't let him see anything less than perfect. I rushed into the bathroom, my bag clutched tight against me, the device tucked inside. Inside the stall, I locked the door and powered it on. Outside, I heard two girls talking.
Kara looks amazing.
But still not as pretty as Eva. I saw her with Jace earlier.
I adjusted the setting again. Maximum heat. My hands were trembling. I needed this to work. I needed to be perfect. I waved the device over my hand, then my arm, anywhere a hair might lurk. But then the nightmare became real. My pores opened, not figuratively, visibly. The skin around them loosened, sagged. The texture shifted. My arm was changing, melting, like soft wax left in the sun. A sharp sting followed, then a burn, then full-blown pain. I screamed. I stumbled out, tears streaking my cheeks, skin blistering, flaking. The two girls screamed and bolted. I couldn't move right. My muscles felt detached, like my body was unraveling. Jace ran in. His face, once soft and admiring, twisted into something I couldn't bear to see. Disgust. His mouth opened like he was going to say something, but nothing came out. He passed out before he could. I woke up in pain, my body wrapped in gauze, my skin tight and unfamiliar. The doctor said I'd suffered severe burns, and they had done all they could. I looked down at my arms. They were barely recognizable, scarred, discolored, and stretched thin. The skin blotched grey and streaked red like something had tried to claw its way out. I stared in silence as a hollow ache filled my chest. Now I understand. Perfection was never real, but pain is, and it leaves marks that never fade.
Dreaming of her flawless look? Don't wait. Buy now and make it yours.
I pushed the glass door open, greeted by the faint smell of acetone and cheap air freshener. The nail salon was cramped, with walls adorned by faded posters of hands flaunting impeccable nails. The flickering fluorescent light above made the already dim space feel even more unsettling. But I didn't care about ambience. I just needed to distract myself, to feel like I was taking care of myself for once after weeks of spiraling since losing my job. The woman who greeted me had a weary smile. Her hands, however, stole my attention. Covered in warts and blemishes, they were grotesque. My stomach turned, but I told myself to stay calm. Don't judge her, I muttered under my breath. She's probably had a tough life, just like you. I sat in the cracked leather chair and placed my hands on the counter. She began filing my nails with clinical precision, her touch robotic. I avoided staring at her hands too long, keeping my gaze fixed on the grimy counter instead. After finishing my nails, she looked at my feet.
Your toenails are too long,
she said, her voice monotone but firm.
We need to trim them.
I hesitated. My hands were one thing, but my feet... I wasn't sure if I trusted her enough for that. But before I could say no, she was already adjusting the chair and motioning for me to lift my leg. The first few trims were fine, but when she reached the corner of my big toe, pain shot through my foot like lightning. I yelped, jerking my leg back. She didn't flinch.
Hold still,
she said, grabbing a small bottle of disinfectant. She dabbed it onto the wound, and I winced as it stung.
It's just a small cut, nothing serious,
she reassured me, though her face betrayed no real concern. I glanced down at my toe. There was a tiny hollow at the edge of my nail, as if the clipper had gouged too deep. Are you sure this is okay? I asked nervously. Without answering, she reached into her drawer and pulled out a syringe.
This will help with the pain,
she said. I froze. A shot? Is that really necessary? She nodded curtly.
Only a local anaesthetic. You won't feel anything after this.
Before I could argue, the needle was in. The relief was immediate, the sharp throbbing in my toe dulled to nothingness, and for a moment, I relaxed. That night, the itch began. It was subtle at first, just a faint tickle at the edge of my big toe. I dismissed it as part of the healing process. But as the hours dragged on, the itch deepened. I scratched absent-mindedly until my skin felt raw, but the itch wouldn't stop. The next morning, I woke to find my foot swollen, the skin around the cut reddish and tight. The itching had spread, crawling up my foot like an invisible infestation. Panicking, I returned to the salon. The woman wasn't there.
She's sick,
another worker explained.
She won't be back for a while.
I felt a pang of unease but said nothing. That night, the itch turned into something worse. My foot began to ache, the skin growing hot and lumpy. Small, pale patches appeared around the wound, like moss clinging to a tree. I couldn't take it anymore. My foot was unrecognizable, bloated, discolored, and covered in strange fungal growths. Desperation drove me back to the salon. This time, another nail technician attended to me, her face a mask of indifference. She examined my foot and immediately retrieved a needle.
This will drain it,
she said flatly. I watched in horror as she pierced the swollen patches. Thick, yellowish fluid oozed out, carrying with it fragments of the fungal growth. But instead of relief, the fungus seemed to react violently. It spread faster, the pale patches climbing up my leg, merging into grotesque clusters. The sensation was unbearable. My skin burned and tightened as if something alive was writhing beneath it. I clutched the sides of the chair, tears streaming down my face. "What's happening to me?" I screamed. She didn't answer. Her expression remained blank as she worked, stabbing at the growths with mechanical precision. I didn't know if she noticed, but the infection had reached my hands. The skin on my arms bubbled and cracked, the fungus spreading in relentless waves. My vision blurred, my head spinning from the pain. The last thing I heard was a voice, not from inside my head, but distant and cold.
"Don't let this get out, or we won't be able to do business anymore."
I sat in front of the mirror, carefully putting in a colourful contact lens for my right eye. I was just a regular cosplayer on TikTok, but today I was modelling for an online game character. I only got this chance thanks to Sarah, who unfortunately got an eye sty right before the photo shoot. "Sarah, you just had a small surgery. Are you okay walking alone?"
Haha, I still have my right eye. My left eye just needs to be covered for a day. I'll be fine. I'm heading out. Molly, today is a big chance for you. Do your best.
I turned back to continue my makeup when suddenly a loud bang shook the table, knocking everything to the floor. Sarah had fallen, her bag spilling all over the floor, mixing with my makeup items. Sighing, I bent down to help her pick them up. After a while, I finally sent Sarah off and focused on getting ready. Sitting back at my vanity, I put in the left contact lens. Only then did I realize I had grabbed Sarah's lens case by mistake. Luckily, the color wasn't too different. I took out the lens from the solution and quickly put it on. I stood in front of the camera, confidently striking poses. The flash kept flickering, the shutter clicked rapidly. This was the spotlight I had always dreamed of. After a while, my left eye started itching. I frowned, trying to endure it, but my expression wasn't right, and the photographer had to pause the shoot. A staff member quickly walked over, handing me eye drops and a wet wipe. I used the drops, and the burning sensation eased a bit. I signaled to the photographer that we could continue. Standing in front of the camera again, I forced a smile. My eyes stung, but I held back the discomfort to finish the shoot. That night, I came home exhausted and collapsed onto my bed, too tired to remove my makeup. I yawned, my eyelids heavy. In my restless sleep, my eyes started itching. Half asleep, I rubbed it without thinking. A sharp pain shot through my eye socket. It felt like something slipped past my eyeball, sinking deeper into my eye socket, but my eyelids were too heavy to open. The next morning, I woke up with my eyes swollen and bloodshot. The corners were crusted with discharge, so itchy that I kept rubbing them. I lifted my eyelid. Underneath was a huge sty. Looking at myself in the mirror, I bit my lip, worried. I couldn't let this ruin my shoot. Only my left eye was infected. It had to be Sarah's lens. I had a makeup shoot today. I couldn't show up like this. I tried icing it and the burning eased a little. But after 15 minutes, the swelling was still there. I figured the infection had turned into an abscess under my eyelid. Out of options, I pressed on the sty, forcing the pus out. A thick white discharge mixed with blood splattered onto the mirror. The pain was unbearable, but at least the swelling had gone down. Gritting my teeth, I put in my lens as usual and headed to the studio. Standing in front of the camera, the intense lights burned into my eyes. Every blink felt like torture. Both of my eyes stung and tears streamed down uncontrollably. In the end, the shoot had to be stopped. I bowed my head and apologized to the team. As soon as I got home, I rushed to my room to remove my makeup. Standing in front of the mirror, I wiped away the smudged foundation with a cotton pad. Both of my eyes were now swollen, bloodshot. I pulled my right eyelid down and saw tiny white bumps stacked together. Carefully, I used tweezers to remove the lens. Then I pulled my left eyelid, but instead of small bumps, a huge swollen lump bulged in the center. Taking a deep breath, I gritted my teeth and tried to take the lens out, but as I pulled, the edge of the lens scraped against the lump. I could almost feel it bursting like an overinflated balloon. Pus and blood splattered, flooding my eye socket. I screamed in pain, frantically wiping with a cotton pad. The pus soaked through, sticky against my fingers. Trembling, I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes, puffy, red, and glistening with fluid. With shaking hands, I pulled my left eyelid again. There, buried in the swollen lump, was the corner of my lens. I trembled in fear, my whole body shaking uncontrollably. Tears streamed down my face as I bolted out of the house. My vision blurred. Something pitch black blocked the corner of my left eye. Panic surged through me as I stumbled down the stairs. I missed a step. My foot slipped. Pain exploded through my body as I crashed down. A scream tore from my throat. Dizziness. Agony. I forced my eyes open and found myself in a hospital bed.
You're awake. You're very lucky. Just some minor head injuries. But your eyes, there's a serious issue. You tried to pop a sty, which led to an infection and an abscess. The CT scan also showed several foreign objects lodged deep in your eye socket. They look like contact lenses. We need to remove them immediately before they put pressure on your optic nerve.
His words left me frozen in shock. My stomach twisted. Without hesitation, I agreed to the surgery. Lying on the cold operating table, my eyes were fixed in place. The yellow surgical light blurred everything in my vision. I couldn't see clearly, but I could hear. The soft clinking of metal tools told me the procedure had begun. Even though I had mentally prepared myself, the sensation of cold metal scraping against my eyeball made me want to scream. It turned out there wasn't just one lens stuck in my eye socket. One by one, the doctor slowly pulled out dry, shriveled contact lenses. I could only lie still and endure the endless torment.
When I first started working at La Belle Cuisine, I thought I had a chance to prove myself in the world of high-end culinary arts. But dreams have a way of souring in the harsh reality of kitchen life. Instead of plating delicate entrees or learning the secrets of fine sauces, I found myself relegated to gorying task, peeling mountains of potatoes. The kitchen's damp environment seeped into my skin, turning it rough, scabbed, and unrecognizable. Chef Laurent was the worst. His booming voice echoed through the kitchen, barking orders and criticisms with no regard for who was in his path. I was his favorite target.
Paul!
He bellowed one afternoon, slamming a wooden spoon on the counter.
Even a monkey could peel faster than you. Are your hands broken?
The other cooks laughed. My cheeks burned, but I kept my head down, fingers trembling as I worked the peeler. Every day was the same. The final straw came during a staff tasting. I'd spent weeks experimenting with recipes after hours, crafting a dish I hoped would finally earn me some recognition. When Laurent announced a tasting session, I seized the opportunity and presented my creation, foie gras. Laurent took one bite and spat into the dish.
Garbage,
he declared.
Stick to peeling potatoes. That's all you're good for.
Laughter erupted again, louder this time. My vision blurred with tears, but I swallowed them back. I smiled and nodded, but inside, something cracked. That night, alone in the kitchen, I stared at the pile of peelings I'd left unfinished. The steel glint of the peeler caught my eye, and my reflection stared back, warped and jagged. Then Laurent's voice echoed in my head.
Stick to peeling.
I'd been slaving for months, bending over backward for Laurent, only to be humiliated time and time again. If all he saw in me was someone to scrape and discard, maybe I'd give him exactly that. I threw myself into peeling, my knife flashing through tuber after tuber, sweat dripping from my brow onto the growing mound of mashed potatoes. My hands, calloused from relentless labor, began to ache. Without realizing it, the blade slipped, slicing through one of the hardened calluses on my palm. The sliver of skin fell onto the pile of potatoes, almost indistinguishable from the starchy flesh. I froze, staring at the tiny piece of myself nestled among the mash. An idea took root in my mind, grotesque yet irresistible. What if? Driven by exhaustion and a twisted sense of rebellion, I picked up the peeler. Slowly, deliberately, I shaved off another patch of rough skin. The pain was sharp but fleeting, and the satisfaction of reclaiming control was exhilarating. I examined it, transfixed. It was almost poetic, the way my own body could be reduced to nothing but scraps, just like the potatoes, just like Laurent wanted. I mixed the pieces into the mash, seasoning it with salt, pepper, and herbs. The next day, the dish was a hit. Customers raved about the unique depth of the mashed potatoes, praising Laurent for his ingenuity. He basked in the accolades, his chest puffed out with pride, while I stood in the shadows, silently savoring my secret. But the praise didn't change my position. Laurent continued to belittle me, taking full credit for the dishes I prepared. Oddly, though, I no longer felt humiliated when peeling potatoes. That night, I stood in front of the mirror, peeling tool in hand. The first time had been an act of rage, but now it felt like power. The kitchen became my domain of transformation. My worsening skin condition provided ample material to mix into the potatoes. Scabs, patches of dry skin, even the occasional drop of blood, all found their way into the mash. With each strip of skin I removed, I felt lighter, freer. I was no longer just Paul, the potato peeler, the kitchen grunt. I'd gather the strips, mix them into the batch of mashed potatoes. I was the secret ingredient, the thing that made their meals unforgettable. The restaurant's reputation soared. Laurent basked in the glory, oblivious to the true source of his newfound success. But my body didn't heal the way I expected. Where I'd peeled, the skin didn't grow back. Instead, strange, pale patches emerged, soft and glistening like raw fish. The pain became a constant hum, but it didn't matter. The dishes were all that mattered. Then, one night, as I prepared another dish, Laurent burst into the kitchen, red-faced.
What is this?
He demanded, slamming a bowl onto the counter. I froze. The broth shimmered with an oily sheen, and tiny pale fragments floated to the surface, pieces I hadn't chopped finely enough.
Explain yourself!
He roared, grabbing my arm. His grip tightened, pulling up my sleeve. The bandages unraveled, revealing the patchwork of raw flesh beneath. His eyes widened in horror.
What have you done?
He whispered, his voice barely audible over the pounding of my heart. I smiled, the first genuine smile I'd felt in months. I've been giving you what you wanted, chef. A piece of me in every dish. Laurent stumbled back, clutching his stomach. His face turned pale as the realization hit. The critic, the patrons, the accolades, all built on the foundation of my sacrifice. He retched, the sound echoing through the silent kitchen. I turned back to the cutting board, the peeler gleaming under the fluorescent lights. There was still so much more to give. Human skin drum. Could ancient Tibetans really create such a horrifying instrument? I can't help but wonder, what would the actual sound of such a drum be like?
Sir, this drum is an artifact. I'm afraid we cannot sell it to you.
I see. Then just send me the most expensive drum from today's exhibition.
Certainly, sir.
I am Henry, a drummer who helped define the sound of a renowned jazz band a decade ago. Though jazz has gradually been overshadowed by electronic music, I believe that if I find a drum capable of producing the most exquisite sound, I could reclaim my career's former glory. But despite testing hundreds of materials, I still haven't found a drum that produces the sound I'm looking for. I went out for a drink to clear my head, only to be tortured by the blaring music in the bar. I want them to give up the stage to me.
Fine, but only 15 minutes.
Back on the stage where I once shined, I'll show you what real music is. Looking down from the stage, I was stunned to see that the audience wasn't who I needed. They were just cattle, accustomed to soulless, deafening electronic noise.
It's such an honor to see you perform again, Mr. Henry. You were incredible.
Wait, weren't you at the exhibition?
I'm so glad you remember me. I'm Roxanne, a fan of yours.
Eagerly, I shared all I had, everything I knew about jazz, with Roxanne. Little did I expect the true nature of this so-called kindred spirit to be revealed so quickly.
That old man took the bait. This is going smoother than I thought. That boring jazz stuff was cast aside by society long ago.
Turns out she was just another soulless drone. I decided then, Roxanne would be the next material for my drum. Back home, I had someone dig into Roxanne's background. As expected, she was a vain woman drowning in credit card debt far beyond her means. For me, that was good news, as money was the one thing I had in abundance. In front of Roxanne, I played the role of a wealthy, infatuated gentleman, ready to provide her with everything she desired. At the same time, I began researching the ancient Tibetan method of creating drums from human skin and quietly stockpiling mercury. 3 months passed, and my prey had been nurtured like a queen. All she needed to do was take excellent care of her skin.
Can you step out for a bit?
I just found a necklace that would look perfect against your skin.
Thank you, but this necklace must have been expensive.
Before me, her skin was flawless, smooth, glowing, and fragrant. It suits you perfectly. Wear it tonight and drive to the bar to meet me, okay?
Sure thing.
Tonight, it was time to reel her in. The air was thick with the scent of fine liquor, and I was euphoric. My dream drum was within reach.
Henry, it's me. Can I come in?
You're late. There must be a penalty.
Such a petty man.
Half an hour passed, and the wine and the psychoactive drug I had prepared for her took full effect. Roxanne, take your car to the edge of the forest and wait for me there. Go now. The first step of my plan was a success. The bar CCTV captured footage of Roxanne leaving on her own. Everything went perfectly. Roxanne stopped at the edge of the forest, a desolate spot with no CCTV. I easily moved her to my car and quickly brought her home. I had rehearsed the skinning process thousands of times, and now as I held the cranial drill in my steady hands, my heart beat slow and steady, like a skilled craftsman. The next step was injecting mercury into Roxanne's body through the cranial hole. This method would peel her skin from the inside, preserving it flawlessly. But it also caused Roxanne to wake up screaming in agony. Don't worry, Roxanne. I'll free you from the pain soon enough. After harvesting her skin, I placed the rest of her body into her car and sent it plunging off a cliff, creating the perfect scene of an accident.
Mr. Henry, was Roxanne your lover?
It's all my fault. We were in love, but I had no idea about her debts and the pressures she was under. I should never have argued with her that night. I should never have let her drive home alone. Satisfied, I stroked my masterpiece of a drum. Each beat echoed with sorrowful wails.
Look at that flower. Once so vivid, so full of life. Now its petals hang limp, its colours fade. No matter how radiant it once was, it couldn't escape time. just like me. I used to be a beautiful young woman, the kind people turn to look at. But now I'm just an overweight middle-aged woman, my body weighed down by rolls of fat I can't hide. Every time I scroll through social media and see all those slim, glowing girls, jealousy creeps in. If only I could have my old body back. I had tried everything, fasting, diet pills, juice cleanses, but nothing ever seemed to work. Still, I refused to give up. Somewhere deep inside, I held on to the hope that there had to be a solution out there for someone like me. That night, I desperately searched online for weight loss products. By chance, I came across a video titled Joy's Weight Loss Secrets. She was a beauty influencer who had recently risen to fame.
Have you heard of the miracle drug Ozempic? No dieting, no workouts. Just a few injections and you'll lose weight even in your sleep.
My heart leapt with excitement. If a beauty influencer with millions of views like Joy was praising this product so confidently, then it had to be real. This was exactly what I'd been waiting for. I ordered the drug immediately through her link. The Ozempic showed up the next day. I didn't even hesitate. I injected it into my arm with trembling hope. Hope flooded my chest. This had to be the miracle I'd been waiting for. Soon all this stubborn fat would be gone, and I'd finally have the body I used to dream about. Lately, my body has been going through some noticeable changes. I stepped onto the scale, heart pounding, watching the number drop day by day. Ever since I started using Ozempic, I haven't felt hungry at all. My body feels lighter. The dull pain I feel every night is uncomfortable, but it's fine. It's just my body detoxing, like Joy mentioned in her video. I finally worked up the courage to try on my favorite old dress, and to my delight, it fit perfectly. I kept using Ozempic. Each injection hurt so much, but I endured it. I was terrified that if I stopped, everything would fall apart. No matter what, I had to maintain this slim figure. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my stomach. Like someone had twisted my insides, I collapsed onto the cold floor, my whole body trembling uncontrollably. My face began to itch, my skin swollen and blistered like it was reacting to something. When I touched it, the burning sensation made me wince. The mirror across the room reflected a stranger. My body was gaunt, my eyes sunken deep into their sockets. I looked like a walking skeleton. Before I could make sense of what was happening, my vision started to blur. I woke up in the hospital, tubes in my arms, wires on my chest. The doctor told me I'd gone into shock. The Ozempic I'd used was fake, laced with toxins.
You're lucky you came in when you did. Otherwise, you might not have made it.
I was stunned, unable to believe what I'd just heard. The drug I'd been using was fake.
You're retaining fluid. Your body's reacting. There's a chance you'll gain back all the weight and possibly more.
I looked down at my bloated, misshapen body, my skin stretched tight like it no longer belonged to me. It felt like a cruel joke. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd trusted, all of it was Joy's lie. She had to pay for her lies. I returned to her page, flooding it with dozens of comments, warning others. But there was no apology, no response from Joy. She blocked me, erased my comments, and shamelessly went back to posting ads for Ozempic with the same old lie. I was filled with rage and despair. But I didn't know how to reach her. Then one day I saw a post. Joy was going to do an outdoor photo shoot and fan meet. I couldn't remember how I'd gotten ready. All I knew was that I'd brought the vial of Ozempic.
It was a perfect shoot. I posed, smiled, spoke to a few fans while security lingered nearby. Then a woman approached me, her eyes tired and her smile uncertain.
I'm a big fan of yours.
I smiled back out of habit. But before I could process anything more, a sharp sting pierced my arm. I looked down. A needle. She'd injected me with something, then pulled away just as fast. I tried to call out, but my voice caught in my throat. Then came the pain. It started with a twitch in my arm, then a violent jerk. The tremors spread to my shoulder, my chest. I couldn't catch my breath. My limbs spasmed out of control. I stumbled, and the world spun. My skin felt tight, like it was shrinking, peeling back. I looked at my hands. Veins bulged like spiderwebs under glass. My skin dulled to a greyish hue, sagging and melting, as if I were collapsing from the inside out. In the blur of pain and horror, I remembered sitting in front of my ring light, streaming to thousands, maybe millions, holding that damn vial of Ozempic, saying all the things I was paid to say. I knew it was counterfeit. I read the reports. I saw the messages from people saying it made them sick. But the money was good. The followers kept climbing. As long as I looked good, I thought I could get away with anything.
This is the price of your lies.
Now my body was paying the price. It couldn't end like this. This had to be a nightmare. I had to wake up. I had to escape. You think you can mess with me that easily? Keep dreaming.
People come to tattoo artists looking for symbols of love, loss, rebellion. They come for permanence, for control. But me, I inked my own destruction. It started after the accident. They said I was unconscious for 3 days. Motorbike wreck. I don't remember much. Just blackness like being sunk under miles of ocean. When I woke up, everything felt sharper. The world hummed with an unnatural stillness, like something was waiting. The first time it happened, I thought it was a coincidence. I doodled a shattered clock on my left wrist. Nothing serious, just a loose sketch with my machine while killing time in the studio. That night, the wall clock in my kitchen fell off its hook and smashed. I laughed it off. Then I tattooed a little envelope on my forearm. The next morning, I received a job offer I'd completely forgotten I'd applied for. A coin. I found $50 on the street. A rose. A girl named Lana walked into my life that week, smelling of gardenias and sin. It wasn't coincidence. It was prophecy. I began using my body as a spell book. Every design was a wish made flesh. More clients came, drawn to my reputation. I raised my rates. Lana moved in. My bank account swelled, my name circled on influencer lists. I was crafting a life with ink, until I made the mistake. It happened after a fight. Lana had this habit, checking my sketches when I wasn't around. She saw something she wasn't supposed to, something I was experimenting with. We fought. I screamed. She screamed back. I needed an outlet, something to bleed the rage into. So I took a pen and drew a tattoo on my thigh. A woman tumbling downstairs, her head split on marble. Her silhouette looked vaguely like Lana. It wasn't a plan. Just a moment of spite. Rage made art. I never inked it. It was just a drawing. But the next morning, I got the call. Lana was dead. Slipped. Cracked her skull at the bottom of the staircase in her apartment block. The cops said it was an accident. Neighbors heard no screams, no struggle. But I knew. I checked my thigh. The ink was gone, but beneath the skin, faint shadows remained, like the design had sunk deeper. I tried everything, scrubbing, peeling, even burning, but the shape refused to leave. And then came the dreams. At first it was Lana, twisted, broken, her neck at a wrong angle, her mouth trying to form words through shattered teeth. Then the visions got worse. People I'd never seen before, places that didn't exist, symbols I never tattooed. But when I woke up, those images were on my skin. A dark figure crouched on my chest, a blood-stained ring encircling my ankle. Eyes, so many eyes, watching, blinking, always open. Every time I fell asleep, I'd wake up with something new etched onto my body, new horrors, new omens. I even tried tattooing over them, trying to regain control. My machine buzzed, the ink flowed, but the marks bled through. Black ink turned crimson, then oil slick green. The machine jammed, the power surged. I swear, my skin hissed when the needle touched it. And then the moving started. Yes, moving. I caught my reflection one night in the bathroom mirror. My shirt was off. The black silhouette on my chest, the one shaped like a man, was breathing. Its shoulders rose. Its head turned just slightly toward my face. I screamed and backed away. The thing didn't vanish. It pressed closer to the surface. I stopped going outside. I stopped sleeping. The marks on my body had become a living record of my sins, dreams, and fears. My skin wasn't mine anymore. It was a canvas for something else, something older, hungry. I tried laser removal next. A back alley clinic with no questions asked. The technician zapped the first mark, an eye on my neck, and immediately started convulsing. His eyes rolled back. Blood streamed from his ears. He dropped dead mid-treatment. I didn't go to the hospital. Who would believe me? Now, every night, more appear. Things I didn't draw. Things I didn't even think. Once I saw my childhood home on my ribs, burning. I called my mother in a panic. She didn't answer. 2 days later, I got the news. Electrical fire. She didn't make it. It hit me then. The tattoos weren't just prophecy anymore. They were creation, not only predicting but enforcing, turning my subconscious into a curse. I started to wonder, if the ink creates reality, could it also end it? So I tattooed a gravestone on my chest, carved with my name. Underneath it, "Here lies the last prophet." I thought it would kill me, release me. Instead, it made things worse. That night, I dreamed of a grave, but I wasn't in it. Something else was. Something that opened its eyes in the dark and crawled out. The next morning, my nightmare blinked before I did. My tattoos twisted and smiled. And then I heard the voice, rasping, low, like a whisper between bones. "You thought you were the artist. You were just the skin." Now I barely sleep. I shave my head, trying to catch new marks early. They still come, faster, more violent, symbols of death, rot, rituals I've never seen. I think something else is writing through me now, taking what's left of my mind and mapping it onto flesh. I'm no longer the only one marked. My clients from the early days, those who got lucky tattoos, they're dying. Their skin rejects the ink. It peels, screams. One woman tried to scrape hers off with a cheese grater. Another drowned herself in black ink. It's spreading. I wanted control, wanted meaning. Now I'm covered in it. Truths I was never meant to see, never meant to speak. If you're reading this, if someone ever offers you a tattoo of fate, don't take it. Don't even think about it. Because thoughts become lines, lines become ink, and ink never forgets. I'm a microbiologist. My specialty? Fungal and viral mutations. If it's gross, dangerous, or involves things sprouting out of places they shouldn't, I'm your guy. It's a dream job. If your dreams include endless pressure, angry bosses, and occasionally dodging test subjects that want to eat your face. Most days, I wanted to curl into a ball and scream, but instead I trudged on, wearing my lab coat like a cape of martyrdom. Then one day, I thought, what if I didn't have to? The idea hit me like a runaway pipette. What if I turned myself into one of those creatures? Temporarily, of course. I'd be too sick to work, collect my occupational hazard insurance, and finally relax. Bonus, nobody could yell at a guy with mutant claws. Thus began the project. I concocted a gas designed to mutate human bodies for 3 days. The fungal compound would dissolve and reconfigure tissue, creating temporary, horrifying mutations before self-destructing. Side effects included mild swelling and a rash, basically the flu with an extra dose of nightmare fuel. Perfect for taking a break without worrying about anyone dying. Step 1. Test it on myself, because that's always the best idea, right? I dipped my finger into the glass jar containing the gas. At first, nothing happened. Then, everything happened. The skin on my finger turned black, sprouting tiny fungal threads that twisted and curled like they had a vendetta. My veins popped like black lightning bolts, and my hand ballooned into a grotesque claw. The pain was intense. But an hour later, it was over. My hand was back to normal, save for some itchy redness. I even high-fived myself with my non-mutated hand for pulling it off. The plan was working. By lunchtime, everything was ready. I figured I'd reward myself with a nice last meal before my vacation. A bowl of pho never tasted so good. When I got back, though, something was wrong. The capsule was locked. Inside was Min, my overly curious colleague, slumped over like he'd just taken a really bad nap. My stomach dropped faster than my high school GPA. The idiot must have activated the gas while snooping around. Min! I shouted, banging on the glass. No response. And then he moved. His body spasmed as fungal veins crept across his skin. His limbs contorted, his jaw unhinged, and his head grew. A massive, mushroom-like structure burst from his skull, spraying spores across the pod. Min, buddy, you okay? He roared. The pod door hissed open and Min stepped out, or what was left of him. His claws scraped the floor as he lumbered forward, a terrifying mix of rage and confusion. Okay, let's not do anything rash, I stammered, backing away. He didn't listen. One swipe of his oversized arm sent my lab bench flying. I dodged and bolted for the control panel, slamming the emergency lockdown button. The lab door sealed shut with a satisfying clang. No way was I letting the boss find out. If this got out, I'd be buried in work, overtime, and pay cuts. This mess was mine to fix. Unfortunately, Min wasn't a fan of locked doors. He pounded on the reinforced glass, cracks spiderwebbing with each hit. I needed a plan. Fast. Grabbing a fire extinguisher, I crept toward him. The second he broke through, I let loose a blizzard of foam, momentarily blinding him. He howled, swiping wildly, but I managed to activate the decontamination system. Gas filled the room, designed to neutralize pathogens and hopefully raging mushroom men. For a moment, it worked. Min staggered, coughing and wheezing. I started to breathe again. But then he adapted, because of course he did. Great. Desperation hit. My eyes darted to the capsule, the one thing that could even the odds. If I mutated myself, I might stand a chance. I sprinted for it, sliding into the pod like an action hero. But when I hit the activation button, nothing happened. Sparks flew from the control panel. Min's earlier rampage had severed the power supply. Of course! Why not? I slumped in the pod, exhausted. Min stalked closer, his heavy breaths filling the room. I closed my eyes, ready to accept my fate. But then, salvation arrived. The lab door burst open, and a team of security guards stormed in. They shot Min with tranquilizer darts and hit him with electrified nets. He thrashed and roared. But eventually, the beast went down. As the guards dragged Min away, my boss showed up, hitting me with their signature line.
Care to explain what the hell just happened here?
I gave a weak thumbs up. Science experiment? You'd think my problems ended there, but no. First, I was stuck writing a mountain of incident reports. Then, I was ordered to develop a cure for Min while taking over his workload. After a week of sleepless nights and more caffeine than any human should consume, I finally cracked it. Min was cured, though he wasn't thrilled about the whole mutant mushroom thing. Fair. As for me, I learned an important lesson. Sometimes taking a break is better than accidentally turning your coworker into a murder machine. But hey, at least I didn't have to dodge test subjects this week. Small victories.